you got into this place to where you just kept watching the footage over and over again. And you told me on radio that you reached out to some photographic experts that were blowing up the faces of the people who had jumped. And you were kind of in this really dark spiral. Tell me about that.
They were able to identify people, some people who jumped, not necessarily identify, but be able to pinpoint yes or no, this looks like my loved one. They also were able to see people who were standing in the windows. And so there was the possibility for me, at least, if my dad didn't jump, which I know now he didn't, but back then I was thinking if he didn't jump, maybe I could still find him in one of these photos of someone hanging out of the windows. And I thought that, one of those photographers would respond to me and want to talk to me about that and blow them up for me.
But they didn't. They did it for other people, but they didn't because you were a kid, right?
Exactly, yeah. I was
and your mom didn't know? Nobody in your family knew about this?
My mom had no idea about that. She started to see the search history on the family computer. Right before I got a computer, when I got into high school, I was still using the family computer. I was like 13 years old and 12, 13 years old. And she would use this computer for like her daily stuff, her emails, etc. And she said that she saw the history and she would never click on any of it because she didn't want to see it. But she would confront me about it and say, why are you looking at this stuff? Like you're going to see something horrible, something that you'll never be able to erase from your memory. She was absolutely right about that, unfortunately. And she's like, she was just so worried that I would see something that would almost possibly tarnish my father's memory in my mind.
So I don't mean to get gruesome here at all, but my mother died when I was 13, and she committed suicide. And I had to go and identify her. And I remember reaching out to touch her, and it's something that changed me fundamentally. But that's not what you were not searching for these. If I can talk philosophically here for a second, you were trying to find who your dad was, or were you trying to find you and your father? What were you really looking for now that you're older and you're...
I think I was looking for both. I think that as I was growing up, I started to become ashamed of who I was. I felt that I was constantly labeled as a child of 9/11. I felt that people, when they met me, didn't look at me and say, that's Matt Bocchi. They would say, that's the kid who lost his dad in 9/11. And that's what always stuck with me. And in looking at the pictures and the videos, I just wanted to, it just sounds so crazy because who would want to look at that stuff to remember their loved one? But for me, I looked at that footage and I thought to myself, what he must have gone through. And I was trying to picture it in my mind, and picture all his coworkers and these friends, my friends' fathers, with him there, and like what they must have been saying to one another and going through in that tower. And these were the thoughts that went through my mind and the things that I played out.
So you're 12 or 13 years old. Your mom is now saying, and the rest of your family is saying, stop this, stop it, stop it, stop it. This is a dark path, stop. And you have an uncle by marriage. He's not your father's brother, but by marriage, he came in and he did the opposite. He encouraged you to pursue it. And he buddied up to you. And we don't need to get into any of the details, but he ended up molesting you. For how long did that go on?
It went on and off for a period of about a year, just a little bit over a year. Seemed like a situation that once I was in it, I was so scared to pull out because I thought that it would backfire and that people would find out somehow, and then they would view me in a certain way, and I would get in trouble. Everyone would find out and no one would look at me the same way. But more captivating, throughout all of that was the fact that being told by this sick predator, really, that my father jumped. And going through that abuse, it wasn't like the abuse was on the forefront of my mind throughout it all. What was on my mind was the fact that I now, quote unquote, knew that he died from jumping.
So
and
wait,
now I
so
was
this so-called uncle of yours, he was not only playing into go ahead and find this and keep searching, but he said, yeah, you're right, he did jump.
Yeah, so basically, I talked to my dad's brother and my mom, the two people who spoke to him, on the phone, and I said, "Do you think Dad jumped?" And then I would ask questions like, "Was he scared? Did he sound scared?" Things like that. And they would say, "No, I don't think he jumped. No, he didn't sound scared." And that's the type of person my father was. I believed that. I believed them for that. He was definitely courageous, I think, in those final moments, and I think he knew, and accepted his fate and wanted to say goodbye. So that other uncle, yeah, he said to me, first it was no direct answer. It wasn't like, yeah, your dad jumped. Boom, that's it. It was just like vague, and he was like, well, it was really, there was no real way for them to get out. And then eventually, when his other grooming techniques weren't working, I had actually seen a photo of remains. And to be honest with you, I don't know for sure if it was actually a true photo or something that was just tagged as a 9/11 jumper. But I had seen that and was visibly upset, called him about it. And that's when he came to my house and told me, yeah, your dad jumped. And pretty much immediately it led right into the abuse.
Holy cow. The only reason why I wanted to stop there is because you then got into trouble with the law. You were smoking pot. You were doing all kinds of, drugs, taking, prescription drugs that you legally shouldn't have had. You get into college and it's spiraling out of control. And you're going to jail and you've destroyed your whole life. Then you do something incredible that it took incredible guts to do. First, you tell your family.